Hi there, this is Lizzy, and today I have a great project that will make good use out of your pattern paper stash. I made 2 cards using several of the pattern papers from the new Perfectly Plaid 6x6 Petite paper pack. The prints really remind me of fabric, and I thought they would be perfect to arrange in the shape of quilt blocks. I experimented with this idea using the second smallest stitch square die in pattern papers, and you can see the result here is this card. You can see that the arrangement of squares creates a great pattern. For today's card, I thought it would be fun to try using the very smallest stitch square die to make a mini version of this big card. I already had an idea of the type of quilt block that I wanted to create, so I knew I needed 4 different pattern papers, which you can see here. And then I can go ahead and start die cutting out all my little squares. Since I knew the type of quilt block that I wanted to create, I also knew how many squares to cut out from each pattern paper. But if you didn't have a quilt block in mind, or you just wanted to kind of arrange things and see where they went, you could cut out several squares from each paper and just kind of see where that took you. So I cut out, like I said, several squares from each paper, and then I also cut out several squares from some white linen cardstock, again just to give it that idea of the same fabric theme using the linen cardstock. So with all the squares cut out, the next step is to cut them in half. In order to make the pattern, you need to cut all of the squares in half so they make half square triangles. So you could do that using a variety of methods. You could use a straight edge and an X-Acto knife. For these small squares, what I'll be using are scissors, but for the larger squares for the other card, I used my paper trimmer. So you can use whatever you have, whatever you think would be easiest, and you can see that I am just going to go ahead and cut all of these squares in half, again to make half square triangles. With all the triangle pieces cut, we can go ahead and arrange them in a pattern. I'm arranging them in a particular quilt block that I found online, but there are tons of different ways to rotate the triangles, so really the sky's the limit in terms of coming up with different patterns. Once all the pieces were in the right place, I used some strong tape runner to make a sticky background on another stitch square that I cut out from some white cardstock, and then that way I can adhere all the pieces straight to the backing cardstock. So just like quilting, it's easiest to arrange the pieces by row. You just keep adding a triangle until the whole piece is complete. So almost all of the pieces are adhered, and really having a tool like this quick stick, it makes the process go by really quickly because it just picks up those tiny little pieces and then helps put them exactly in the right place. So you can see our little quilt block is finished. So I wanted to make it into a card, so I thought it would look nice on a 4-bar sized card. I used the new stitched mom die and cut that out of some guava cardstock. I'll be placing it right there on the bottom, and then I'll be using the new Mom and Me stamp set to finish stamping my sentiment. So I'm just using my T-squared ruler just to give me a straight line and an idea of exactly where I need to stamp that I love you sentiment. So I've taken some soot Lawn Fawn ink and I inked up my sentiment, and I can stamp it exactly where I drew that line. Line that up nicely. And then that will nestle right underneath that mom sentiment. So I went ahead and I cut out 3 pieces of the guava cardstock using that mom die, and I'm going to adhere them all together so it gives it a nice substantial look, and it pops that die cut up a little bit, so it gives it some thickness and a little bit of extra interest. And now I'll take some liquid glue, it's a nice strong adhesive, and then place that down onto the card base. And then I'll use some strong adhesive, some tape runner to adhere that quilt panel down to the card. So here are the two finished cards using half square triangles to make some fun, colorful quilt blocks. I think this is a great idea that really showcases this beautiful pattern paper. It's also a great idea to help you use up some of those pattern paper scraps that you have lying around. So I hope you'll try out this technique and have fun playing around with different arrangements. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.